Welcome. Before we touch a single standard, I want to set expectations. This session is not about how artificial intelligence works, it's about who is accountable when it goes wrong. So, over the last decade, every organization learned to manage information security. And we got ISO 27001, and we got fireworks, we got audits, we got a person whose job title contained the word security. So artificial intelligence is now at the exact point information security was in about 2003. Everybody is using it and almost nobody is governing it. So two standards to the governing. ISO IEC 42001, which is a global one, and you can think of it as the management system. How we run AI responsibly rule book, and EN 18286 is the European one, and it exists specifically because the EU passed a law and somebody had to translate that law into steps an engineer can actually follow. So now the governance imperative. So as the heading says, the Wild West is over. And I want to explain why that's literally true rather than dramatic. So 2 years ago, artificial intelligence in most companies looked like this, which has a curious data scientist build something in a notebook and it shows to their manager and quietly becomes load bearing. Nobody signed off, nobody wrote down what they trained it. That's the pilot phase. And in a pilot phase, ad hoc checks are fine because if the things breaks, three people find out. Now, deployment is different. Now the model is touching the customers, money, hiring decisions, or medical outcomes. Same model, radically different consequences. And informal checks that work for three users do not scale to 3 million. So I would like to give you a simple analogy. A home cook tasting the soup is an ad hoc quality check, and it works. Now, a food factory cannot taste every can, so it builds a system, documented recipes, temperature logs, batch numbers, or recall procedures. And that's the shift we are describing, not more cautious, systematic caution. So, governance is not the brake, it's a thing that let you drive fast without crashing. So, now why standards matter now? So, there are three failure modes: algorithmic bias, data privacy, and hallucinations. So, algorithmic bias is a classic case. A company trains a resume scanner on 10 years of its own hiring decision. So historically, it hired mostly men for engineering roles. So the model has no concept of gender fairness. It just learned what got hired before. So it start down ranking CVs that look different. So nobody wrote a gender rule here, but the bias came in through the data. So that's a crucial for any of the data set which we are using. We have to look at that bias is really inherited, not authored. Now, the second one, which is a data privacy, someone pays a confidential contract into a public chatbot to summarize it. And that text may now sit in a third party system. And in some configurations, it can influence the future output. So the employer wasn't malicious, they were being efficient. So this is why governance has to be about process, not a blame. Now, the third one is hallucinations. So a language model's job is to produce a plausible text, not true text. So those aren't the same thing. So real example here you can consider, for example, a lawyers who submitted a court filings containing a case citation the model invented. It is confident, well formatted, entirely fictional. So three different problems here. One shared cause, no system is checking the artificial intelligence. That's what standard give us. So there are two twin pillars of AI management. ISO IEC 42001 and EN 18286. Now, ISO IEC 42001 is the world's first international standard for an AI management system, or it is also called as AIMS. So, what is mainly about is a management system. It does not tell you how to build a neural network, but it does tell you how to run an organization that builds or uses an AI. Who is responsible, who is accountable, what get access, what gets documented, how you improve it, and it's more of a voluntary, global, and certifiable. Now, the EN 18286, which is very latest law, and it has been introduced this month in July 2026. It's a European and much narrower. So the EU AI Act is a law. And Article 7 says provider of high risk AI must have a quality management. So law says must have QMS. EN 18286 says what that QMS actually contains. So I want to give you one analogy here. So ISO 4201 is like learning how to drive well. So you have a defensive habit, you have a mirror checks, good judgment, and it is useful anywhere in the world. Now the EN 18286 is passing the specific testing driving in specific country. And with that country examiner watching. So good habit tells you how to pass, but they are not the test. So if you sell a high risk AI into Europe, you need both. So if you're considered outside of Europe or your AI is low risk, 4201 alone is more than enough for now.